This video is about solving right triangles. The first thing that's important to review are these two special triangles, the 30, 60, 90, and the 45, 45, 90 triangles, that you should have memorized and be able to draw from scratch. Now, looking at that 30, 60, 90, we're memorizing that we have a side length of 1 across from the 30, 2 across from the 90, and square root of 3 across from the 60. And we know, however, that triangles don't always have those side lengths. So what we're looking at there is really just a template for all other 30, 60, 90 triangles. Okay? Those are just the ratios of their sides. What that means is I can give you another 30, 60, 90 triangle, with the 90 degree angle here, the 60 and the 30 in the same place. If I told you that this is 5, the length of that short side that's opposite the 30 is 5, to get the other two sides, I can base it on my template. I see that to get from the short side to the hypotenuse, I just have to double it. That means my hypotenuse in this triangle must be 10. And then I can see that to get from the short side to this middle length leg, the one that's opposite the 60, I am taking a 1 and multiplying it by the square root of 3. So what this middle side is going to be written as is 5 root 3. You could take out a calculator and get that, but it would be a decimal, so we'll leave it in that form. So we can do this with other side lengths. You just have to follow the same rules as the 30, 60, 90 template that we have drawn up top. You can do the same thing for a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Let's say I draw a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Flip it backwards, but the rules still apply. If I tell you that one of the sides is, let's say, 3, that means that I know the other leg that's across from the other 45 degree angle must also be 3, because I know those have to be the same. And to get my hypotenuse, I take my leg and multiply it by the square root of 2. So this would be written as 3 square root of 2. So all other 45, 45, 90 triangles are just based on that template with the 1, and the square root of 2. So on the first half of your homework, you have either 30, 60, 90 triangles or 45, 45, 90s. You're asked to find the exact value of the other two sides. So here, I have a 30, 60, 90. I see the 30 is in the bottom right corner. That means this one must be 60. And I'm given only the hypotenuse. So I can't use Pythagorean theorem. I don't have enough information to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to have to use one of those two templates. So I'm going to use the 30, 60, 90. And I see that if the hypotenuse is 8, the easiest side to get here is actually y. Because y is the short side, and it's across from the 30 degree angle. Which means I know it's exactly half of the hypotenuse in this chart. So if the hypotenuse is 8, then I know that y equals 4. Exactly 4. And then to get to the medium length side, the one that's across from the 60, remember we're taking our short side, which here is the y, and multiplying it by the square root of 3. That's the template for 30, 60, 90. So I'm going to take my y, which is 4, and multiply it by the square root of 3. And because it's asking for an exact answer, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to take out a calculator and do it, which would give me a decimal. And those are my two side lengths that are missing. So you may need to use 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90, depending on the triangle. But you can get them all just based on the two templates that you should have memorized. Then on the back, it's asking us to solve this right triangle with the given measurements. And it gives me 2 bits of information. And now I don't have a 30, 60, 90 or a 45, 45, 90. I have some other angle. It's telling me that angle A is 32 degrees here. Change color. So angle A is 32 degrees. And since I can't use any of my shortcuts there, I'm going to have to use sine, cosine, or tangent to get the information that I need. I'm also told that side B is 10. Cross out that B, put a 10 down there. Okay. It's asking me to solve the triangle, which means it wants me to find anything that's missing. Any other angle and any other side that is not labeled, it wants me to find. That's what it means to solve a triangle. I want to see if I can do this using only the information that they give me. So I'm going to see if I can get each missing piece of information based only on what they give me. Angle B is probably the easiest thing to get, because all triangles add up to 180 degrees, and I already know that I have a 90 degree angle, and I have a 32 degree angle. So to get the missing angle, I just have to add up the two angles that I already have, which is 90 and 32, and subtract that from 180, which tells me that angle B is going to equal 58 degrees. And I got that using only the information given. Now I'm going to see if I can find, let's say, side A, little lowercase a. That's what I want to get next. Using only the information I have to decide whether to use sine, cosine, or tangent to get little a. So I'm writing myself SOHCAHTOA so I can choose smartly which one I want to use. I want to use the 32-degree angle because that's one they gave me. And I'm looking for side A, which is opposite, and I'm given this side, which is 10, which is not the hypotenuse, right? Because we know C is the hypotenuse here, which means I'm given the adjacent side. So I want to find a trig function that uses opposite and adjacent, which tells me I'm looking for tangent. So I'm going to set up an equation. The tangent of 32 equals opposite over adjacent. So I'm using only the information they gave me to try to find the missing side length A. I set this into my calculator, tangent of 32, and then I multiply it by 10 to figure out that A is approximately 6.2. And you can do side lengths to the nearest tenth because they'll often come out to decimals. So 6.2 is my missing side length A. Now, even though I can cross it out over here and label it 6.2, that doesn't mean that I want to use that 6.2 when I'm trying to find C. Only because if you accidentally made a mistake, or if your calculator was in the wrong mode, or you used sine when you meant to use tangent, if that's an error, you don't want to go ahead and use it to get the next part, because that'll also be an error. So you want to see if you can find the last part that we need, the hypotenuse, using only the original information given to us, which was the 32 and the 10. So based on the 32 here, I'm looking for C, which is the hypotenuse, and I have the adjacent side, which is 10, which tells me that I want to be using cosine, because cosine is the trig function that relates adjacent to hypotenuse. So for this one, I'll set up another equation here. Cosine of 32 equals adjacent over hypotenuse, so 10 over C. This is a slightly more complicated equation to solve than the ones that we've done so far, because you're going to put this cosine 32 over 1 and cross multiply to solve this. 1 times 10 is 10. Cosine 32 times C, I'm just going to write that as cosine 32 C. To solve for C, then, I have to divide both sides by the cosine of 32. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 10 divided by the cosine of 32 and determine that the C is approximately 11.8, again rounding to the nearest 10. And now I have all of the information that I didn't have at the beginning of the problem. I don't have to label angle C because I know that's 90. Angle A they gave us and angle B we found, and then all three side measurements we now have. Let's try one more. I'm told here that angle B is 60 degrees. And I'm told that side A is 7. Cross that out, make it 7. And I'm asked to solve the triangle to find all the other information. So angle A, I can see right off the bat, must be 30 degrees. It doesn't say exact or decimal value to get the side lengths. So you could use trig if you wanted to, sine, cosine, and tangent, or you could use the 30, 60, 90 shortcuts that we know. So I'm going to use that since that's always faster if you can get those memorized. Knowing that A is 7, A here is the short side because it's across from 30. That tells me that C, the hypotenuse, is going to be double that, which is 14. And then B, which is the medium length side, is always the short side multiplied by the square root of 3 for this type of triangle. So B is equal to 7 root 3. And if you wanted to take out a calculator and do that, just make sure you round it to the nearest tenth if you're going to do it that way. Because it doesn't say here whether to go exact or decimal. So I would have to accept either answer. Good luck.